Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War event objectives for the Ox Me Anything event, in which the Desert Ox is added to the game. So this week we have a couple things going on, but the first thing I actually want to go over is the patch that was originally supposed to be sometime this August, did end up getting delayed. Update 8.3 has been delayed, so it has been pushed into September. We ended up getting this the other day as far as notification on that. So yes, 8.8 unfortunately not happening this month. Originally it was going to be sometime in August, which would have been, of course, pretty much tomorrow then, if it was to be in August, as that is the final day that they could have really done it on. But it has been delayed till some unknown time in September, so 8.8 patch, not this month unfortunately. Beyond that, we still have a few other things going on in that regard, still with the calendar. We have the Wednesday International Dog Day pet. We still have that coming in, so if you want to go get that, the 2025 version is available for that Wednesday. We also have our second Vault event weekend this week, or this month. We had one, because of how it fell, there was one right at the beginning of the month, all the way from like the 1st to the 3rd or so, and now we have one right at the end, going from the 29th to the 31st, so I end up falling just because how the dates worked, to have two within a single month, even though it's still the same 4-week distribution that it normally is. So that's pretty nice. And beyond that, we also still have the Beast event going on. We also have the calendar for it, so don't forget the Sunday. You can get your little bit of free gems and everything else. But beyond that, of course, whatever objectives you still want to be doing with this daily, keep in mind it is a daily, so you do need to be doing every single day to get all of your points. Basically, spend your 50 gems every single day, go and do your 6 battles, and then go and get all the rewards that you want to go seek. The main ones I would say that are really important are mostly the pet. This would cost 700 total, 500 initially to get the pet max, and then 200 additional for the golden version of the pet, as the golden version of the pets have never been available for free after the fact. So just to have it for completion's sake is nice. Beyond that, the other thing that's pretty good value is the Orb of Power, pretty much the cheapest Orb of Power you can ever get. Maelstrom Dagganoff just came out about a month or two ago, so if you've still been needing orbs to go craft that, definitely worthwhile, or if you still need any of the Power Orb Mythics, pretty much the cheapest you can ever get them. Beyond that, if you haven't gotten the troop by this point, you might want to skip on it. You won't have access to it for a couple months, but it will eventually just be in drop table, so you're basically just buying it for early access, but you could be putting that 400 towards the other rewards, so you don't have to spend as many gems. But if you do want to have it over the next few months and not need to get a few extra copies of it, you can still go for it. And of course, the armor is probably lowest priority just because it comes back every single year. But if you haven't gotten that for 500 gems, if you want to go and wield it at any point, or just have it for completion's sake, it will be back next year if you haven't already gotten it. So I'd prioritize mostly the pets, the second highest priority on the Orb of Power, and the third on getting the troop so you don't have to get it later. And that's pretty much everything with the event. You just do the battles every single day, do your 3, do your 6, and keep upgrading the difficulty on it so that you can end up getting more and more points. And of course, there's just brown teams. Whatever brown teams you were using last week, you can still keep using. You might just have to upskill it though, as the stats are going to, of course, keep getting higher and higher. But if you're later in the game, whatever you're already running is probably perfectly fine. But if you do find you get walled off, just keep it at whatever difficulty you're already at that you are able to complete it with, and just keep doing it that way then. Beyond that, other things. So, Guild-related event, just a raid boss. Pretty straightforward. Just use the guy as double magic, as double score. Does not need to be upgraded to get double score. Just simply has to be on your team. But if you're planning on killing the raid boss with it with your one-shot, which you likely will be doing most of the time, probably going to want to be using it. You do have access to Beatrix, so this is a pretty free week that you could basically just put Beatrix on your team would be perfectly fine. I have it on the budget team, but literally just spam double Beatrix on your team. Single Beatrix, you'll be perfectly fine. Just throw some Chaos Shards at Deep Hive. If you currently don't have access to it, wait until tomorrow. Get a bunch of Chaos Shards from the Tuesday faction event, and then go dump them all into Deep Hive and go get your troops that you need. You can do whenever. You could do it today as well, but if you need some more shards, it'd be a good time to do it tomorrow to be able to go earn a bunch more shards. And yeah, it's pretty much everything going on, aside from the pet thingy that we mentioned earlier this Wednesday, which I don't have right here because we had the other pet, but that pet will be coming in on Wednesday for the new holiday thing. Anyways, let's get into the teams, all which will be in the description below if you want to go and copy paste any of them. So raid event, of course, we are forced to have to use the new raid troop. He's basically just for one-shotting the thing, the boss. He does get to explode 3 Doom Skulls as his extra effect as far as what he does. He also has Impervious and Armored, which honestly isn't too bad. These aren't really things that in raid specifically you'll necessarily need, but they're definitely not bad traits at all to end up having on something like this. But his main goal is just to one-shot the boss and then use the rest of your team to deal with the rest. Archer class we have here for the 50% insta-kill as well as 50% mana start as well as Greenstorm. Basically trying to go and sneak out a kill so that we could just go and kill out in one cast. Because this guy will kill out the raid boss, which is really important to do first because these things, the raid boss itself is immune to insta-kill. So you're going to want to kill it first with this. You then ideally get at least one kill off the 15% skull. And then all you have to do is cast Scorpius once. it will end up double killing the last 2 enemies, which you want to wait until after you've gotten rid of the immune to insta-kill, as the boss does have immune to insta-kill. But then it would be safe for Scorpius to cast. And you have Curse Poison on this, so even if they have immune, you'll be able to go and poison them. And this is from the Immortal. You do need to have the 4th trait on the Immortal, which I believe needs level 4 Immortal, which actually we have exactly enough for. If you don't have this, you could always just go down the Beatrix build. But if you do have level 4 Immortal Scorpia, this ends up working out really, really well for setting up Scorpius for his double insta-kill to the last 2 enemies. Just make sure that you've killed the boss first before you do it. Otherwise, the boss is not only immune to poison, but also immune to insta-kill. Beyond that, low level team, obviously just spam Beatrix. Every single low rarity team is basically put 2 Beatrix on your team until you win. It's almost basically just a faction team. You're just running Scarab Knight because it's really tanky, has barrier, has a bunch of durability gain, has 50% score reduction. You're running this because you have to, but also to kill the boss quickly, just so you don't have to deal with it. And then the rest of your team is just spam Beatrix until you win. Ideally, you don't want to cast this immediately and just go all in on Beatrix, even while we went double blue. Your main goal is to go Beatrix as immediately as you possibly can. Start spamming it, hope it doesn't miss. Scarab Knight will tank. This thing kills boss. Just rinse, repeat. You'll eventually have more green mana than you ever know what to do with, and just keep spamming it out until you win. As far as the faction, this is a green-brown restriction for that of the Deep Hive. Of course, Deep Hive being pretty notorious where Beatrix is, a really great cleanser in the game, as well as just great overall true damager and good troop all around in general. If you haven't already gotten it, definitely make sure to do so. Obviously, you don't need an event week like this in order to go and target it, but it is, of course, easy to go do, since you also get the guarantee epic and everything else. But, of course, you can throw Chaos Shards at the Deep Hive whenever you want. But definitely ideal to do it this week if you haven't already gotten your double Beatrix, as she's useful for a lot of game modes this week. You could even use her here if you want to. But for this, we're just using a standard pretty quick kill Rowan team. It's a green-brown restriction, so we're just running with Rowan quick kill here. For the higher rarity team, we're just running a pretty standard Maelstrom Dagannoth team. Of course, the Power Orb from the other event, if you haven't already gotten it. One step closer to getting yourself one if you haven't already gotten it. Of course, gosh, I cannot say that. Catharask is also a Power Orb thing, so if you need to get that as well, could be another target. But beyond that, we're just using a pretty standard Wand Leprechaun and a double insta-kill to scale out through the entire faction. And for pure faction, we're running a pretty standard team that you're going to see for a lot of the game modes this week, especially on the budget end, because all you have to do is just throw a bunch of Chaos Shards at Deep Hive and you're good to go. But it's basically to spam Beatrix with the Scarab Knight as your tank, and if you have to replace out a troop like for the raid event, you just replace it out accordingly. You can also replace out for Hero, try to add Hero where applicable, though of course for a pure faction team, you cannot add Hero to this, as that will not count as pure faction. But for this, we're just running triple Beatrix with a tank up front, this standard Beatrix things. You just keep spamming this until you win. This is tank so you don't die, and ideally this will survive into the final fight, though if it does die, 3 Beatrix is enough to win the final fight. You just might take a little bit of heavy skull damage. Beyond that, Dervish class event is specifically monsters from that of Drifting Sands. We have something that is pretty similar to that of Atlanta, though ever since Atlanta got buffed is basically a weaker version of Atlanta rather than stronger. However, it's a 75% mana start Swift Troop, and it just deals a bunch of damage to the first and last enemy, and then deals double to a random enemy. Overall, quite a bit less damage than Atlanta because of its magic reduction. It does not get to 1-to-1 on its magic like Atlanta does. However, it's the best that you could really use for this faction, and it's good enough to clean up the battle. Depending on how bad your weapon is, it might even be better just to run a mana accumulation weapon here, and just keep spamming these until you win, depending on what your damage source is looking like. In this case, I end up putting Dawnbringer here, but of course, just put whatever applicable weapon you want. Black Manacle is also fine, just try not to block them as much when possible. Beyond that, Underspire, this is a Drifting Sand restriction as well, with the main thing being that you don't have to use the Raid Troop, so this opens up one slot to be able to use whatever. And in this case, we're adding Hero with Greenstorm with 50% mana start. Also has Resummon and mana accumulation. We're mostly doing it for the mana accumulation with it's where it's currently positioned, but you could put it in some kind of way where you also end up utilizing it for Resummon if you find that you're dying too much. But it's the same premise as before, except we're probably going to have to double cast with the Scorpius, or even just clean up with Beatrix. But we're basically just going for the double kill, curse, poison, and then Beatrix to clean up the final 2. Will probably be a little bit quicker, unless you get really lucky getting Brown into Scorpius. But that's pretty much the game plan, is either double kill with Scorpius, or Beatrix spam until you win. And of course, the lower rarity team just goes all in on the Beatrix spam, running a Scarab Knight as your tank, running this, which is something you can't do on the pure faction team, but you can do for Underspire this week, using a resummon weapon that's in Soulforge. Any of those weapons that you see there are these exploding ones, like that Fang or this one, they're on Soulforge this week, so if you need them, just craft them in Soulforge. But we're just running this in order to offset our overall amount of mana accumulation, just to get Beatrix rolling a little bit quicker, and just make sure that we tank forever. And if it does die, then our Emerald Baton thing will go and resummon a random Drifting Sands troop there. And then the rest of the team just, keep spamming Beatrix until you win. As far as the Magical Beast event, these are just the same 2 teams we showed last week, but I figured I'd put them here. just in case. I'm pretty sure most people by now weekend already have your teams, but if you don't, just end up running pretty standard Flower Dragon team for the high rarity 8 range, and just a Queen Zachi and the Magma Dragon with whatever Empower you can scrap together based on what our options are, because there's not too many good ones under brown, unfortunately. And of course, you do have to use a pure brown team. But of course, if you have better damage sources, upgrade them accordingly to whatever your best options are. And then it's just a bunch of mana accumulation into whatever your best brown troop that hits all enemies is. With these both being faction troops that are easy to target on any weak Stone Song Era. You just throw some Chaos Shards there. You get her for Queen Zachi. And similarly, Fire Rift for Magma Dragon. You just throw some Chaos Shards in both those 2 locations. And you're good to go. And that's all the teams, all which will be in the description and pinned comment if you need to go and copy paste any of them. So, next thing, Soulforge. I did not actually check this yet. Did we get any yet? Let's see. Oh, Mistralis is kind of fun. Let's double check in each one. So, Mistralis. Mistralis is the best enchanter in the game. For 1 single extra turn, she enchants all allies. This is really good for the very niche teams that end up using enchant boost ratio. But also, it's a lot of value. Especially in a game mode where you might be losing a lot of turns, or if the enemy has a lot of freeze or something similar. Though they might also have curse, which would be kind of problematic. But this is effectively 8 mana every turn, regardless of what you do on the board, or if you cast a spell that doesn't do any mana accumulation or anything, as every single thing on your team will end up gaining 2 mana per turn until they end up casting, or until they get dispelled or cursed or anything. But it's 8 mana per turn, which is not that bad at all, across your entire team, 2 per each. And on top of that, it also has an okay extra turn ability. Deals a bunch of splash damage to 1 to 4 random enemies, unfortunately really inconsistent. Sometimes it'll keep just hitting 1 or 2, other times it'll hit 4 like every single time. Really inconsistent, but when it does work out well for 3 or 4, really nice. On top of all that, it then jumbles the board again, or it jumbles the board and then gains an extra turn. This is really useful for if you have a convert or double converter or any kind of converter on your team that needs specific alignment on the board, as the current board state might not have alignment, but you can then cast Mistralis, and then ideally after the jumble, with the automatic extra turn, assuming she's not frozen, you will gain a new board. And with that new board, you will hopefully then have alignment to be able to basically have a second chance of converting. So really good on double converters or really anything that need very specific board layout in order to function. So any kind of team that kind of needs that can end up working out really well, which is a Mistralis plopped on the team for a little bit of extra mana accumulation. Definitely a support troop when it comes to teams, but it can also hold its own for an okay amount of damage. So it kind of has everything going on for it. It's one of those kind of like Tuck Shotgun similar, or it kind of just cover, it's like basically a support troop, but can also solo an entire battle if it truly had to. You're not going to want to have to, but if you truly had to, it could if it needed to. Beyond that, anything else here? No. Tangle Bomb's kind of funny. It's not worth crafting, but it's triple damage Entangle with Impervious. Really fun troop. Not really worth going every way to craft for 800 diamonds, though. And that is everything. As far as weapons, I say the thing's a must-have. Is either of the 2 relevant? I will always double-check this, just in case. No Drifting Sand. Oh, yes! The Scarab Nefertani. This is why you check. Craft this. Do not leave this week without crafting Scarab Nefertani. You need this for the Dustbringer weapon, and even if you feel like you're never going to use Dustbringer weapon, though you do occasionally for Thursday class events, especially if you don't have Ruby weapon, but it's very niche. You're almost never going to be using it. Way weaker than Dawnbringer in a lot of situations. It's basically alternative Black Manacle, but in both situations, Ruby weapon tends to be a little bit better compared to both. But it deals a bunch of damage to all enemies, boosted by purple allies, and then def marks all enemies, and if there's 13 more brown, also gains a little bit of magic. The main reason this thing has an absurdly way too inflated mana cost is because the 4 times def mark. Dawnbringer does basically this exact same thing with inverse colors for barrier your team, for only 20 mana cost. The 5 higher mana cost on this weapon has always been its biggest thing that's kind of made it not that usable. If it was 20 mana cost, this would be a completely different weapon. But at 25, it's really clunky to use in a lot of situations where you otherwise would want to use it. I guess they just overvalued Def Mark at the time or something. But you still want to get it, even though it's probably the worst of the 1 million gold weapons out of the 3, because it's what? Dawnbringer, this, and Ruby Weapon? Isn't Ruby Weapon 1 million? Wait, is Ruby Weapon 1 million? It is, right? Yeah. Out of the 3 1 million soul weapons, Deathbringer is easily by a mile the worst of the 3. However, you should still always craft the 3 components, just so whenever you do finally want to get this weapon, you can. Because if you're going to wait until all these rotate around, you're going to be waiting for like a year and a half. So get your Scarab of Nefertani. It's pretty cheap to go and craft. It's a completely useless weapon, but just craft it so you have it eventually for the Deathbringer craft. And beyond that, as far as other things that you'd want to get beyond just Scarab Nefertani, basically is whatever explodey weapon you need. So we're showing a couple different teams. These explodey weapons all are in Soulforge this week, so if you don't have them, just get them through the Soulforge, and you'll be good to go. either one of them, depending on what your team is. This one, you might use a little bit less just because it full blocks Beatrix, so you might want the green-red one, wherever that is in all this mess. We showed it earlier. I'm not sure where it'd be sorted in all this, somewheres. I wish this was sorted in a different way. This is, like, just madness, the way this is sorted, or lack thereof. I forget what it was. It wasn't Blade of Sands, right? No, that was a different one. Where's the other weapon we were talking about? I'd be able to see it, like, instantly if I could, like, see its color. It was the green-red explodey weapon. There it is, Emerald Baton. But yeah, this is the other one you might want to be running because it doesn't block Beatrix. So if you're running this in a Beatrix team, it's actually a little bit better than the other one. Their effects are pretty similar. The main reason why you'll want to use the Fang if you're not using Beatrix is it has an effect to gain 4 mana back all the way over here. Whereas the other one, the only extra somewhat useful thing it has is like stun or something. But it gains 4 of its mana back, so after you cast it once, it's only basically a 10 mana cost weapon rather than a 14. So if you're not using Beatrix, the Sharp Fang is better, but if you are using Beatrix, then the Emerald Baton is better. Is basically the one that you choose between the two, dependent on if you are or aren't running Beatrix, where this is the weapon that you run if you are running Beatrix, whereas the other one is the one that you run if you're not running Beatrix. Is basically how you would go about crafting them. Or you can just get both of them if you just need them for kingdom upgrades or anything off of Drifting Sands, which I believe is an attack kingdom, right? Actually, I can't even check here because we have it all the way max. I'm pretty sure it's an attack kingdom. So pretty good to get those milestone upgrades like level 10, level 20, you know, so on and so forth, where you get those attack buffs. Beyond that, other things. Games, we kind of already mentioned, but this Tuesday we have the faction event for Deep Hive. Great location. You could just run Beatrix teams. Wednesday, we have ourselves the new pet. Don't forget to get it. The 2025 International Dog Day pet coming in on that Wednesday, and only that Wednesday until it comes back. Who knows when. Thursday is just a class event for Dervish class. Pretty underwhelming class. Pretty much never used. Yeah, but you probably don't have it maxed either, so at least you can get some free classics before it. And then Friday, we have ourselves Vault Event Weekend. Actually, I'm not sure if I even mentioned that a single time this whole video. Oh, yeah, I did right at the beginning. But yeah, we had 2 Vault Event Weekends this month. One all the way at the beginning, one all the way at the end. Still the same 4-week duration that they normally are, you know, the 4 weeks apart. However, due to it being right at the beginning, we also have one right at the end. So yeah, good old Vault Event Weekend. So great time to be farming all that loot. And as we kind of already mentioned, every single day, don't forget to be doing your dailies for the End of the Beast event. Still have 7 days to go and earn up all those points, and then another 7 days to go and use them. But this is the last week that you can earn any points for it, basically whatever that timer says. So whatever points you still need for whatever rewards you want, make sure to go and gather them. Beyond that, raid event, we already kind of went over earlier, but just don't forget to use him on your team for double score. He does not need to be upgraded, but you probably do want to have him upgraded so that you can one-shot the boss. Very convenient. But as long as he's on your team, you'll be getting double score. Make sure to have him on every single battle so you get your double score. And then just run Beatrix if you need for the rest of the team. As far as event keys are concerned, it is Drifting Sands. So is it worth opening event keys? I don't even need to check to see what's here to know that the answer is no. Unless you're looking to get to a certain star level this week, there's pretty much no reason you should be opening these. As far as what is not in drop table, there's actually a good handful of them. This includes the 4 or 5 faction troops from Drifting Sands, which of course, or from Deep Hive, I mean. Those are only from throwing Chaos Shards at Deep Hive, which I highly advise doing if you don't already have Scarab Knight and 2 Beatrixes. The current raid event troop you cannot get from it. You have to get it from the raid event week. It will be available in future Drifting Sands event weeks, but this specific one, you have to get it from the event shop. So spend your 210 gems, go get your weapon for free there, go get your troop there, help out your guild, and be able to clear out the event that way. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Is Sandstone Sentinel on drop table? But other things that are not in drop table include the Hermit is not in drop table. This is from Vault Keys. The Crag Maul is not in drop table. It is only from Diamonds in Soulforge whenever it wants to finally rotate. The Drifting Sands Monstrous Sentinel thing, this is only from doing Underspire from those dead end rooms. The Yellow Gem Dragon is only from the Gem Dragon drop table. The Immortal is only from the PvP drop table from the Burning Marks. And I think that is everything. The one thing I want to go check, the Sandstone Sentinel, I am not sure if it's been long enough for him to be in drop table yet. So you know what, let's go open some event keys and check. See if we can get him in some amount. How many do we want to open? Oh no, we have a good amount. Let's start opening them 200 at a time, see if we get anything. We did not get him yet, and we've seen 7 legends, so that's a bad sign. Yeah, he might not be in drop table. We're like a dozen in and we haven't seen him, unless we're just getting really unlucky. The main reason I wasn't sure on this one is because his event was relatively recent. Oh, Shabanu Vespera. So Shabanu is actually a pretty nice mythic from this location. It's a very gimmicky one, but if you ever wanted to get max stats in this game, very conveniently, this is the way to do it. They cap at 1,000 because unfortunately there was originally no cap on it and you could get some really, really funny numbers. But they eventually capped it pretty early on in the game to 1,000 all stats. So if you ever want to have a team to have 1,000 all stats, Soulforge and Mistralis is actually the best way to do it. You ideally want to be using basically like a pure color team to make it more consistent, that she gets more of the same color. So she could basically create 18 or 27 of the same color basically every single time. And you gain a bunch of random skills, and this random skill can be magic, it could be any skill. So you basically just keep doing this, keep skilling up your magic over and over and over and over again until eventually you have enough magic to go and have literal 1,000 all stats. It's a really fun gimmicky troop, generally too slow to bother using in most battles. Even this week I didn't use her in a single one of the high rarity teams or anything like that. It's just too slow, it's really gimmicky, it's really fun though. So here we got another one. Not sure if I already had 2 or 3, but yeah, there we go, another one for the pile. But yeah, I think we can conclude here that the desert thing that came in one of those previous, I think it was the summer event, wasn't it? The summer of this year is not in drop table, it seems. I am pretty sure, unless we just got really unlucky, it does not seem like it's in drop table yet. And I believe this was from the summer event. Luckily, it's pretty useless, but don't try opening event keys trying to get it, because from what I can tell, it is not in drop table. But it's pretty useless, and you've probably already gotten it during the summer event if you've been playing. It came out like, what, 2 months ago? Somewhere around there, whatever the summer event was this month or this year. So, yeah, not in drop table. And yeah, overall verdict on event key drop table, do not bother. There's nothing. Oh, wait, that was our second one. Oh, we can run double Soulforge and Mistralis teams. That's a fun gimmick team. Now it's even easier to get 1,000 all stats. But as far as the mythics here, they're pretty underwhelming. Kronos has an interesting thing where chance all allies when you get an extra turn. This actually accounts for any extra turn. I wish I would add more mythics like this. Overall, the lower rarity options that do hourglass gems are basically stronger than this thing. Most notable Daughter of Time, if you've ever used her, from I think Glacial Peaks. She's like an ultra rare or epic, and she's basically better than this mythic. So he's not really ever used because of that, though it does use completely different colors than her, so it does have that as an advantage. Scorpio is just completely dead content, doesn't do enough damage to ever be relevant, unlike Immortal Scorpio, which is a little bit more useful. Scorpius is a very gimmicky troop that just does double insta-kill when something's poisoned. Ideally, of course, you'd want to just cast this twice and auto-win a battle. Very gimmicky. It's generally too slow to use for a lot of things these days, but on very restrictive game modes like this week, it can be okay. It's not really worth going out of your way for, but if you do have it, you can use it for some game modes this week, like Underspire or Raid Event. But for the most part, not really that needed, and you can just speed trick spam to kill those out. Soulforge and Mistralis we already went over, just really gimmicky, get 1,000 all stats troop. Really fun to use, but not really practical to use. And those are the only ones in drop table. So yeah, in the legends here, you're not really getting anything useful. The only good legend in this whole location is Beatrix, but of course she is not an event key drop table. You get her from throwing Chaos Shards at Deep Hive. If you haven't already done that, to get your 2 Beatrixes 100% to do so. She's one of the best cleansers in the game. Be able to 4 times cleanse your entire team while having a really good ability overall, with decent extra turn rate and mana accumulation back into herself while still mana accumulating for the team. Really good troop overall. Honestly, probably one of the first things you even get in Underspire when you're a newer player. There's really, really good overall well-rounded troop. But yeah, overall verdict, do not open event keys this week. Unless you're looking to get a specific star level for your Drifting Sands, it is not worth it. There's just not much in it. You know one thing that is worth it for once, though? Which is a real big surprise. I didn't use it on any teams because it's just not practical to, I don't feel like, for this week. But this troop is actually not bad, the Glory Troop. They did it. It's very rare, but we got a Glory Troop that is usable. So this is an ultra rare 12 mana cost brown, green, Desert Ox. As far as what it does, it creates a mix of Cursed Gems and Doom Skulls. And if the ability ended there, this thing would be completely useless. But they did the one of few things you could do to a troop to make it not useless. And they gave it auto extra turn. So this creates, on average, about 5 Doom Skulls and Cursed Gems. Cursed Gems being brown gems that will curse the enemy team. So this is basically a mixed brown mana accumulator Cursed Gem troop that, of course, feeds back to himself. He does use brown, but also has auto extra turn. So this might align an extra turn skull or set up some kind of double convert for you if you have something that converts brown into skull or something similar on your team. But yeah, it's not bad. Generally later in the game, you're not really going to be using this, but if you needed like a kind of mid-range skull spammer, this could be really good, especially since a lot of skull spammers are brown. So if you're using like Keeper of Souls plus Desert Ox as you like a budget skull spam team, would end up working out really well because Keeper of Souls is brown purple and needs those browns as well, and can then do a targeted alignment on all the Doom Skulls that you end up creating off of this. But yeah, it has a lot of potential, at least in like early game, mid game. When you have options of everything in the game, you're probably not really bothering with this. And for the game modes this week, it's just not really needed either because they're not really particularly skull-oriented. Like raid event, you don't really need to do skull spam. And for the later end of Underspire, you don't really want to be skull spamming either because the enemy gains way more value than you do from them. But yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. It is definitely 100% usable, but it's more geared towards early game skull spam teams. So you might be able to get some use of it. Definitely worth considering. But beyond that, if you have all the skull spammers in the game, you're just not really going to be, utilizing it. But it's not bad. It is a usable troop, finally. As a glory troop 1 week. We finally got one. But yeah, don't forget this week to go claim your free gems this Sunday. Don't forget to be doing the daily of the thing. It will end after this week, so you don't have to do it after that, luckily. But for any of the rewards you want to do, make sure to be doing that daily to get whatever you still want. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave in the comment section below. Unfortunately, 8.8 patch got delayed, but that means the next few weeks, hopefully we'll end up seeing it. But it's definitely not going to be tomorrow. It's definitely not going to be anytime this week. So I'll have to wait till sometime in September to see what that ends up bringing in. And I will see all you guys later. Goodbye, everyone. And thanks for watching.